Hi, Shumi from OVERDRIVE again, and now with me is Mark Hughes. Mark, would you tell the OVERDRIVE reader who you are?
Sure. I'm Mark Hughes. I'm the Vice President of Operations for JPSI, and I've been with the company now for 8 months, and my responsibility is the operation of the circuit.
No, and before this you were...
Prior to this, I was Operations Director for 5 years in the track in Bahrain, and also a senior consultant with the track in Abu Dhabi to finalise the design and get them ready for their first event.
Okay, we're primarily going to talk about the racetrack, but first let me just ask you, how is the India Challenge different from Bahrain and the other racetracks that you worked at?
India, in terms of challenge, it's a new sport for the country, and although we have a bit of racing in the south, F1 is completely new, and it's about awareness. It's also about finding the right people to run the race. There's a lot of training involved. We have 800 marshals that we need to find and train, and that's going to be a challenge in itself.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the racetrack. We were talking to Mark earlier, and he gave us a very nice description of the racetrack. I'm going to ask you to run through the track again for the readers.
Okay, no problem. The circuit will, at the start line, the real feature will be the 30,000 seater grandstand on the left-hand side. That will really dominate the start line. As we go down the starting straight, we come to a sharp right-hand corner, and after about 200 metres, we go up very steeply to turn 3, and that steep climb goes round turn 2 and goes up 14 metres into a nice wide corner, which leads on to the main straight, which is just over 1 kilometre. And that main straight starts with a 14-metre elevation, drops down to about 8 or 9 metres, and then goes back up again to 12 metres. So that'll be a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, just to give you a reference, 12 metres, we're talking roughly about a 3-story building, so this is not a small number.
No, it's an exciting elevation, actually. The land itself is very flat, so we've had to do a lot of work to build up the track. Once you get to turn 4, you turn right, and you head into a series of quite fast-flowing bends. And the highlight of that section of track is a long sweeping double apex corner in turn 10 and 11. And we think the cars will be doing about 225 kilometres around that track. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
And the great thing is that, again, that's elevated, so the spectators will have a wonderful view of the last 3 or 4 corners of the track leading back down to the main straight.
And in fact, Mark was just adding that there will be another grandstand there with 30,000 people, and that's the one he'd rather be sitting in than the actual...
If I had the choice, I'll sit on that double apex corner, for sure. I think I'll be running around, running the race. I'll be a little bit busy.
So you did the sims on the computers, and what kind of speeds are we seeing at the end of the main straight?
At the end of the main straight, I think we estimated the VMAX speed would be 318 kilometres an hour.
So will this be one of the fastest tracks on the calendar?
Yeah, I think it'll be in the top 3 for sure in terms of average speed.
When do you think the first Formula 1 teams will actually come down and physically test a car? I'm sure it will be a closed event, but...
They won't be able to because of the F1 testing regulations.
Right.
They won't be allowed to drive on the track before they come for the race. So the first time the teams will drive their cars on the track is on the Friday of the 3-day weekend. Yeah.
Right. And how excited are you about being in India, doing the racetrack, getting Formula 1, the challenges?
It's hugely exciting. Everyone within Formula 1 has wanted to come here for a long time. I'm very privileged to be part of this team, and it's great. I've had an opportunity to help sculpt the venue into one of the best tracks in the world. It's fantastic.
Outside of the Formula 1 event itself, what else is going to happen at the racetrack?
We have a lot of exciting plans. We plan on having a racing and a riding academy there. So any youngsters that want to come along and learn how to race cars or bikes will have the opportunity to do that. We'll also have a World Championship karting circuit, and we're also looking at other race events. So we will probably have domestic racing, so something like the Polo Cup or the MRF Championship. We'll try and have those kinds of events at least once a month. Mm-hmm. Except in the summer because it will just be too warm, and we're also looking at other international events. So,
motorcycles?
Absolutely, yeah. The track has been designed specifically for cars and motorbikes.
Okay, and you were telling us earlier that the original design of the track was changed later with feedback so that the racing stays exciting. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of criticism is levied at modern track design, and some of it is unfair, and some of it is down to the design of the cars. They don't necessarily allow for good overtaking. I think that is changing more recently with the changes to the regulations. But we chose to share the track design with some of the teams and some of the drivers. They put that into their simulators, and they gave us some very positive feedback. And we've been very lucky that we did that early enough to incorporate those changes into the design of the track. And the track that you see today has had that those changes incorporated.
So when this 5.14 kilometer track goes live roughly in October next year,
Yeah.
who do you think will be the first winner of the Indian Grand Prix?
Depends who's driving. It's hard to say because we haven't seen next year's cars. We don't know who's driving for which team.
Sure. But take a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I'm a huge Jenson Button fan.
Okay.
And Jenson or Massa would be great.
So you're not supporting Force India Formula One. That's not going to go down well with the readers, is it?
It depends who's driving for them next year.
Okay.
Really, I think the team are fantastic, and they've had some incredible results this year.
Okay.
And of course, we'd love to see Indian drivers next year as well. So we do actively support Karun, and he's a brand ambassador for us. So I'd love to see him win the race, but that depends on which car he sat in, I think, to a degree.
Right. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for being on Overdrive. That was very, very interesting, and I'm sure our readers are now as excited as we all are to see Formula One next year.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.